Welcome to the Bunker Bros podcast from the bunker, episode 1. We're going to give a quick introduction of the team here. We're just 3 dudes who were in the Michigan Guard, went to Syria together, and came up with Bunker Bros. So we're just trying to build a community for our fellow veterans. I got my Kill Cliff knockoff Joe Rogan over here. And my name's Eli. I've been in the military for 19 years, 4 years active in the Marine Corps, and I've been in the Army National Guard since. I've been in 11 Charlie and 11 Bravo, and I've been serving the last few years as 11 Charlie, which is how I started off in the Marine Corps. I've got 1 Iraq, 2 Afghanistan, and 1 Syria deployment, and about to retire in a year and a half. I'll have 21 years, so that's me. Burke, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yep, Burke. By the way, Eli, what's your call sign that we founded with the company?
Yeah, I was Boot Scoot, our mortar team, so Boot Scoot 7.
Yeah. All right. I'm Burke. I'm also Slim Reaper. Guys came up with it. We had a vote, that won. But I joined the Guard in 2012 and did my first deployment to Iraq in 2016, 17, I believe. Did Afghanistan with a private company in 1920, and then Syria with, once again, the Michigan Guard, and that's where I met Matt and Eli. Been 11 Bravo the entire time, but I had a secondary as a 13 Mike, which I got for the Iraq deployment because that was a field artillery battalion. Yeah, that's about it. Matt.
Hellcat Matt. I joined the Michigan Guard in 2020. 11 Bravo. 1 deployment, Syria, with Eli and Burke. That's where we all met. Well, not on deployment, but being in the same company. We met prior to deployment, but really got to know each other better throughout deployment, and then a whole lot more once we joined, put the company together and really started hitting the ground on it. So, yeah.
So we have kind of an interesting story, and all 3 of us joined at different times of our lives. So I went active duty right out of high school. Burke joined the Guard right out of high school. Matt joined in his 30s, and Matt and I are about the same age. I was born in 86. Were you born, Matt?
85.
So a little bit, we wanted to kind of talk about how we have different journeys to being GWOT vets, and technically Matt just caught the last month of GWOT because apparently the global war on terrorism is over, but you could still get rocketed and hang out in the desert after the war's over. So
yeah, I just got a iPerms GWOT notification in my email, so I don't know what that means.
it's really interesting because when I went to Iraq in 2005, the guys who went in 2004, they were on their second deployment, and they had to choose whether they wanted to wear a GWOT expeditionary or an Iraqi campaign. You couldn't wear both. So I wore Iraqi campaign, but now people are getting GWOTs. I'm like, this is... Now I'm really confused.
That was with the Marine Corps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that had something to do with it, because my first deployment was Iraq, and I got both. I got the GWOT and the OIR campaign.
Okay.
So I don't know if it was a Marine Corps thing.
Or maybe it was something at the time back then. Yeah. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But, so we came together during out there at OIR, Operation Inherent Resolve, which is currently going on in the Middle East. And, Matt and I were both in high school during 9/11. You get to see that happen and how it changed the entire trajectory of our country, and especially everyone serving in the military. And, we want to talk about the differences, and Matt watching the initial global war on terrorism and the first about 20, almost 20 years of it as a civilian, and then finally getting in the Guard and what that was like for him, and then, talk about our experiences from there. So go ahead, Matt. What was that like for you?
Aggravating, because I was born, my right foot was like jacked up, like at birth. So I was like, it was a club foot. I was missing 3 toes and didn't have an Achilles tendon.
Whoa.
And so like immediately started getting surgeries, corrective surgeries for my Achilles tendon. To where they just basically they put like this rod, this barbed rod up through the back of my foot, and it attached to the muscle that your Achilles like is connected to, like up in your calf. And they slowly would like shorten the rod to where they're just slowly stretching that muscle down until it like
Wow.
fused to where the Achilles tendon's supposed to be. So I was like, my right leg was in a cast I was a baby, so I don't remember any of it. I just see pictures of all my baby pictures. My right leg would be in a cast, that sort of shit. But I came out fine, like fully physically able. Like I didn't learn to walk and then lose the toes and have to relearn. So
Matt, did you have any family history of military service?
yeah, so like I was saying, my dad was in the 82nd, and then all of his brothers and brother-in-law were World War II vets.
Okay.
My uncle Dale was in the Marines in Japan, and 2 other uncles were in the Army in, I guess, France, Germany, and then another uncle in the Navy. And so, yeah, it was just a big thing. I was always wanted to enlist once I got out of high school. And I think seeing 9/11, I think I was a sophomore when that happened. That was, just kind of solidified what I was going to do when I got out. And then,
Yeah, I've definitely felt exactly the same. I was also a sophomore. So your dad had kids late, huh?
yeah, he had kids early, and he had kids late.
Okay. Yeah, my grandfather, which most people our generation, their great grandfathers were like World War II.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it was my uncle's.
well, maybe I don't know. My grandfather was World War II, Nebraska National Guard infantry, went to the Pacific with MacArthur, and then great uncles on my grandma, his wife, my grandma, World War II, Korea. Then my other grandfather was in the Navy right after, I think during or around Korea. And then my dad was in the Marines 15 years, and his brother, my uncle, was in Vietnam in the Navy doing those patrol boats up the river. So I wanted to join, and I was able to join right out of high school, but you ran into some challenges, right?
Yeah, and it was because of my foot. Wasn't really anything that was an eliminator, but they were getting recruits hand over fist back then. Like it was gangbusters. Right. And the last time I tried, because it was like 03 to 07, I was going and getting turned away. And last time I tried, the recruiter was like he was the first one that I went to, and I went and saw him a couple more times. And then the last time he was like, it's got nothing to do with your foot. Like you can get in, you just got to get the proper waivers. And right now, recruiters can spend X amount of time on you to get this waiver done, put all this time in, or in that same amount of time, we can put through 20 recruits. It was a numbers game. And I thought that was kind of disheartening because like I felt like, I didn't know any of the other recruits, possible recruits or whatever, the hypothetical guys, but like I just felt like I wanted it more.
Mm-hmm.
and I kept trying, and every time I got turned away, it just got more difficult to go back. And then so yeah, the last time I heard that, I was like, that's fucking horse shit, man. Like it just kind of like turned me off to trying anymore, because it's like you're not going to get somebody like this that wants this and wants it so fucking bad. And you're seeing other people where it's just like, it's their only option, or I guess I'll do this or whatever. And in my mind, all these guys are shitbags, like
Yeah.
all these hypothetical guys, and I'm like, I can do more. I can do this. I could be an asset. And so I just said, fuck it. Like, I'm going to stop trying. I'm going to stop talking about it. I'm going to stop thinking about it. And so I just kind of like focused on playing music, and I
Mm-hmm.
was playing in bands from, like 2007. Well, fuck, probably before that. Let's see. I know that I was playing on my 21st birthday. So
Were you in bands like in high school and everything?
yeah, yeah. And then like right out of high school, there were like clubs that would do all ages shows, or there were a handful. So we would play those shows, and then got older, started playing bars and bigger clubs, and then started going out of town, getting a little bit more serious about it. Um,
And this is all out of Kentucky, right?
yeah, yeah.
And you
Campbell County,
graduated
so
in 04, 05,
oh 03.
03? 03. Okay.
So yeah, just playing music a bunch, kind of, just fucking off, not really making future plans or anything, just having fun.
Did you
And
ever
then
go on a proper tour?
yeah,
Yeah?
yeah, they were all like self-funded. We never had representation, never got on a label. Everything was put out independently, so we were coming
Mm-hmm.
out of pocket. This is before, MySpace was hot. Facebook was more just like for colleges. Like it was back when you had to like, when you're setting up your profile, you had to like on Facebook, you had to put like what school you went to.
Yeah.
It was like more for college. But yeah, and then there was this website called indieonthemove.com, and we used that a ton because it was the best way to filter clubs, venues, bands, promoters, and then genres.
Okay.
And so you could like look in different cities and different towns, like, okay, we're looking to play a show in Oshkosh. What bands are there?
Mm-hmm.
We can't get a hold of any bands in this town. What clubs are in this town that that can help us out? And the more we got into it, the older that we got, we started playing with touring bands back home, and would just do like show trades where they come through your town, you hook them up, give them a clean bed to sleep on, feed them, give them a chance to do laundry, that sort of shit. Take care of them, show them some hospitality, and then they just kind of like return the favor when you come and play to their town. So
Oh, wow.
we would just like pad everything, with, favor after favor after favor after favor, and then we'd call in those favors when it was time to go out of town. And we knew that we could
Mm-hmm.
get like at least a fun show. People would turn out. We'd get paid, get fed, that sort of stuff. Not have to worry about sleeping on like a grimy floor anymore. I mean, that was pretty punk rock. We had fun doing it, but
Yeah.
at the same time, that shit was fucking gross. We'd avoid it if we could.
What were some
Um,
of the names of your bands?
I played the whole time I was down in Kentucky. It was Martin Luther and the Kings.
Uh-huh.
Um, we did. Well,
Was it a whole bunch of Elvises?
no. We went through some like some big sound like changes. Like we started out, it was like fucking loud, fast, heavy, like anti-establishment punk,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got into psychobilly, and so we kind of like started playing like a little bit of like psychobilly kind of stuff, and then I kind of settled in on I guess like some good alt punk, like Americana punk, and that's kind of like where the sound kind of stayed. I saw this band Against Me for the first time when I was like 18, and it was the Eternal Cowboy album that they were putting out, and I was kind of trying to figure out. Everybody was just, it was like super heavy, distorted, power chords left and right, and I was looking for something outside of that, and I saw Against Me heard them doing sound check, and they had like real twangy. They were playing open chords and shit, and I was like, this tone is fucking awesome. I don't know how this is gonna be punk, but then they started their set off, and like the fucking energy was there, and it was awesome. I was like, oh my, okay, this is kind of what I was looking for. This is the good change, and so I, kind of shifted gears, but also like we were like a revolving door of members for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so as new members would come in, we would kind of like all like adhere to each other's musical preferences and styles and stuff like that. And then once we got like our solid lineup, it was me and I play guitar and sing, and then our buddy Bogey played bass, and then my guy Jims was the drummer. And then we became like the solid lineup, and we were really able to like form like a really good sound between the three of us, like really distinctive. And then we were also like Bogey and I just had like good on stage like banter back and forth, and it got to the point where we would be shit faced and playing and just destroying a set, like great set. Like it was just, we'd kind of like go into autopilot, but in between songs, it would be just absolute chaos. And so, yeah.
So you're doing all that, playing in bands. I get that. I mean, that's a small part of my life, not as much as yours. Started in high school. Honestly, wouldn't have joined the military right out of high school if my buddies would have told me what had happened. So I'm in this band. We started together sophomore year. And, I played bass. And we were a punk band because we sucked. And that's how most bands start. Is like, not that all punk bands suck, but like if you can just be like.
It's the easiest thing to start with. Power chords are super fucking easy.
Yeah, so we're a punk band. We call ourselves Surrendering Flag, I think, because like there was Black Flag and all this stuff and whatever. And then we kind of morphed. Somehow we turned into like my junior, early senior year. We sounded like the Killers, dude. This is right before the Killers came out. So and then my senior year, I graduated in 2004. We broke up, and I joined the Marines. So I joined the Marines before we broke up, and like 2 weeks after I joined, they're like, "Hey, yeah, man, this local label wanted to sign us, but we didn't really like them." And I'm like, "You could have told me. I would have waited. Like, if we had any kind of chance, I would have gave it a chance before signing up, And then, so then we broke up, and then I was in a ska band. So, I mean, the younger listeners probably don't know what ska is.
No, yeah. So for like a plebeian who's not attuned to the arts like myself, what is a ska band?
It's like
the best explanation I heard of it is ska music is what a child hears when he sees in his head when he sees a server bringing his chicken fingers to him.
Dude. Ska is like pop punk with horns.
Yeah.
So you have trumpet and trombone. You could look up like 5 Iron Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, dude.
Boss Tones, yeah.
Oh,
probably the most famous ska band.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Or Real Big Fish.
Yeah, but I mean,
I know like one Real Big Fish song.
It's got its roots in like dancehall reggae is like where it like started to come out, and then just roots reggae, dancehall reggae got big in England, and like the style kind of like started to form a little bit like once it started to meld with like the punks, and then you started to see like the high energy kind of stuff from like the punk influence come into it, and I don't know. Now we're on like fifth wave everything at least. So every time like a new generation like takes hold of something, it gets I guess it gets formed like a little differently. But yeah, like good ska, good old school ska is fucking fun.
Yeah.
Like
So,
lots of
and then
checkerboard
like,
motifs.
so the difference would be you're doing all this music, getting this experience in that lifestyle, and then joining the military where I was doing that, joined the Marines. I like completely stopped playing the whole time I was in, got out, moved to Iowa, joined the Guard, and then I started playing again. And I got up some buddies and did a cover band, which is kind of soul crushing. Like when you play in a cover band, you're like, I've given up. Like I'm just gonna play other people's songs, and it was fun, but it's kind of like empty.
You know what the
So
real soul crushing thing is, Eli?
what's that?
Is being a musician that releases original material and seeing how much cover bands are getting paid.
Yeah, dude. I know we would. This was back in 2009, 10, and I mean, we easily made 300 a show, no problem. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Each,
now it's probably like 500
each, or
Oh,
like
it's
the band.
total. But I mean, you could make more. But I mean, just for like a small bar,
Hmm.
you get like free drinks and just truck your stuff in and out and play. And like, cool, I had fun Saturday night. I played show at a bar.
I would do
yeah, but you guys
karaoke
are
for free
also
drinks. I
playing
don't.
like super long sets.
Yeah,
You know,
we didn't even know that many songs, so we usually played with another band because we only knew 30.
yeah,
And
that's
like,
crazy. Like a superset.
yeah,
For
so
like for us like standard set time. Like if you're a support like local support band for like a touring
mhm,
act, you get 25
5.
minutes, 25 30 minutes,
Yeah,
and then touring acts get about 40. Because I mean
yeah.
at the same time like attention spans have gotten shorter and shorter and shorter.
Hmm.
So
Everybody wants to go outside and have a cigarette the second the band starts playing. Like, uh, we would be lucky when we went on tour to consistently hit our $150 guarantee.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
so
So
you
yeah.
you did the band stuff all the way up till like when did you actually join and go to basic?
Me,
Yeah, like when did you go to basic?
January 21.
Okay, but you joined in like 20 and you had to wait.
Yeah, so I was
Okay.
delayed ship. I swore in 4 days before I turned 35.
Which
August
at the
18.
time was like was that the line?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Like
You
like
just
my
made it.
recruiter was like, "Look, we could get you an age waiver, but this waiver for your foot alone is difficult." And she was
Yeah.
able to like from start to finish. It took 4 months. Like I remember Craig and Corey were talking about somebody broke a pinky, and it took them like a year and a half or 18 months. Yeah, a year and a half to get a fucking waiver. So
mhm.
Yeah.
4 months for me to get that shit in and push through. And yeah, I went to MEPS and swore in 4 days before I turned 35.
So you did basically you said in 2021.
Yeah. So we did the 22-week cycles. I think it was like January 26th was my ship date, and did a
Yo, what is
week.
the 22-week cycle?
It's 10 weeks of BCT, and then AIT was 12 weeks.
As an 11 Bravo.
Yeah.
Dude, mine was like 16 weeks.
Yep. It sucked because the whole idea was like these boys need more like weapons immersion. They need trigger time. Blah blah. Like they didn't allocate budget for that shit, and they hadn't expanded on the training plan. We didn't leave the footprint of like the CTE or the CTA forever, man. Like we would just sit over in the CTA and clean our weapons.
Dude,
We would.
the I feel like the Marine Corps' system's way better for infantry on that. Like you go to boot camp for 13 weeks, you learn the extreme basics of weapons. Like you have an M16 and that's it. You learn how to drill. It's about instant obedience to orders, discipline, mental strength, and then they build you up and then you get 10 days off and then you report to infantry school. So 13 weeks, 10 days you go home, you report to infantry school. A lot of guys get stuck in infantry school for 2 weeks to a month, like standing guard and stuff, waiting to pick up. Luckily, I picked up right away. Marine Corps infantry training, you get 10 days off after boot camp. Then you go to infantry school. You get weekends off. You're not treated like you're in boot camp anymore. I mean, it still sucks, but and then I don't remember exactly how long it takes because mine took longer because we had like Christmas and Thanksgiving break and all this stuff. So I ended up being there for like 8 weeks instead of, I think it's 4, something like that. So let's say it's 4 weeks, but then you're treated more like a Marine and you get weekends off. You take breaks, right? Like it. I think that system's a lot better, and then you're focusing on your job. So you're either a rifleman, mortarman, machine gunner. At the time, they had assaultman. That's gone away. Or you're like a tow missile guy.
Yeah, like so your infantry school is broken up into specific jobs. It's not just like everybody in the infantry school is either 11 Bravo or 11 Charlie.
Yeah, and you only do 2 weeks together. You're all together for 2 weeks. You learn like the saw, the 203 at the time, and do that. It's all combined, and then you split off. So
yeah,
it's more specific. I think it's better, and then they rely on you to learn more your unit. Where I mean, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like based on what I've seen in the Army in 15 years, is the Army shoves a little bit down your throat, and it's like they expect you to learn too much about things you should learn at your unit, in my opinion.
are you talking about at like OSIT?
Yeah, like room clearing, uh, an L-shaped ambush, and all this stuff. Like you learn a little. It's like you'll learn that stuff at infantry school, but you get to your unit, and when you're active duty Marines, at least, and they're like, "Yeah, just throw that out the window, dude. We're gonna
Yeah,
show you what's up."
that was the same. Yeah, because like they teach you like the basics, but then you get to the unit and the unit's SOPs are like, nah, that's not what
Yeah,
we do.
Right.
I feel like the Marine Corps was on like the KISS method. They keep it very simple,
Keep it simple,
and I
stupid.
feel like from what it feels like an Army basic. You're like humping around with a 240, but you don't really know how to use it.
Um, yeah, I'm in basic. Yeah, sure, I think that's true. But like
Yeah.
but they even say like at least when I went through Matt, I don't know, it could be different. Like we had dudes that had the 240 in basic who like clearly didn't know what the fuck to do with it. And we didn't like have AGs and ABs and all that shit. It was just a guy carrying a heavy gun. That was it. But then like when obviously you get to the unit and the unit's like you're either in an open squad or you're in a line squad if you're a Bravo, you know. So that's where it like matters. And like I think that works fine. I don't think there's really a better way to do it unless you're gonna actually do what the Marines do and like specifically be like, oh yeah, you're a machine gunner forever, or you're like a rifleman forever.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the way the Army does it after OSIT.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we would get like a little bit of like we would touch on like we did some time with 240s. We did like a qual on the saw, so we had to do like some intro and understanding of the saw.
Was that in basic or after?
That was AIT.
So,
that was like infantry school.
Okay, I mean that makes sense there.
Yeah, but as far as
but they didn't like do like here's the 240. This is your AG, AB,
right,
your gun team. This is how you
yeah,
in place. This is
we didn't focus
this
on
is
crew
where you
service.
want. Yeah, they didn't teach you like machine gun theory,
Ah,
right? Yeah,
No.
they just like here's a 240. We're gonna shoot it. That's it.
Yeah,
that's what they
like
do for if you're non-infantry in the Marines. Everyone goes to the same basic training or boot camp, so you're all molded the same way, no matter what your MOS. Then, if you're infantry, you go and start infantry school, and then if you're not infantry, you go to infantry school for 2 weeks, and you're basically in the field shooting like every weapon system, Mark
Yeah.
19 saws,
Yeah.
just for a basic knowledge, you know. But if you're at infantry school, like you will know the nitty gritty of your job.
I
Yeah.
did
Well, I
see
mean,
some
Army
wild.
does BCT. Everybody does BCT. And then you go to your MOS school after that. Some people do split training where they'll go to their duty station first for a little bit and then go to their MOS school. And some MOSs will do one station unit training where
Yeah,
it's all
That's
jam packed
us.
into one. Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it's different now. I have no idea. Like I went in like 2012 or whatever, but like it was basic and AIT was all in the one place with the same dudes, and it was the 16 weeks or whatever. And it was like there used to be red, white, and blue phases. So like
Yep.
red phase was the you get treated like a piece of shit the whole time, and then
Mhm.
white's supposed to be like, you know, it's like you still don't have rights as a human being, but like you get to eat now or something. You know what I'm saying? And then blue
Yeah.
was supposed to be like you get treated like a kind of a person, like a not like a person, but like kind of a person. But like instead, like, and this was like the standard kind of for every company that I saw is like you went through red phase and then you just stayed in red phase. You just it never
Yep.
went to white, and it sure shit did not go to blue because like
that's
every company
grueling, dude.
dude, people were like close to graduation still getting the shit smoked out of them in front of like the DFAC. I'm like, those dudes graduate tomorrow.
Yeah.
See, like
Yeah.
you get
They
treated. Yeah, you get treated like not a human being the entire 13 weeks of Marine Corps boot camp, but it's only 13 weeks, not 16.
Well, it's like it's the same though. Like so, like you graduate OSIT for the infantry, and I don't know who the other ones are. Probably like I don't know. I couldn't even say, but like OSIT for the infantry is like you graduate basic, and you get like a you get the beret. I think like instead of wearing the PC, you put a beret on, and that's
Hmm.
like the only time you ever wear it in your life. And then like yeah, then it's like 7 weeks or whatever, because basic used to be 9 weeks, and it's like you get a 2 day pass, and you can like I think you could like go to anywhere within 50 miles of Fort Benning, I think, and just like we stayed in a hotel. Me and my buddy stayed in a hotel, and like hung out at the pool for 2 days, and then we came back,
not us,
and
bro.
then it's like 7 weeks of advanced infantry training where like yeah, it's all shooting, and then you kind of learn some maneuvers. Like you learn the basic battle drills and like TRPs and like, or sorry, TLPs, and you kind of like break up into like the platoon breakdown. So like you kind of break down into squads, and like you have a PL and like all
Yeah, you get
that.
like
Like
student leadership,
yeah,
shit like that.
you learn kind of sort of the jobs, but not really. Um, but yeah, no, you it used to be like they had a layout for how it was supposed to go, where like you earn better treatment, and it just they were just like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. And I thought it was
Yeah, it's
hilarious.
like,
So you're like, oh yeah, you'll get your phone out of red phase. Nah.
dude, that's so messed up. Like, it's so nice in the Marine Corps to leave and then go to infantry school and not be around your DIs. Like that would really suck.
I thought
No,
so.
we were there
Like,
during COVID though. Like, so COVID
Mm.
restrictions kept us from doing a lot. I mean, just getting the shit smoked out of you, like you're like wearing a fucking mask.
Oh my gosh, dude, no.
Glasses are fogging up like crazy. You can't see shit. Your fucking camelback is just, I don't know, in knots just from front leaning rest position. Up on your feet, get down. Up on your feet, get down. Up on your feet. I mean, this shit is all. It was a fucking mess. Our masks smelled so fucking bad just from
dude, they were just
sweating.
were they
And
just like
breathing heavy
moist all
snot.
the time? They were just like
Yeah,
soppy
yeah,
like, all the time.
and it was fucking. I mean,
It's fucking gross.
it's January, February, March. Like it's cold, so they're just
Oh,
soaking wet and
Oh,
cold. And I was like, this is fucking terrible. Like once they finally like took the mask restrictions off, it was almost like they opened up some more like potential for like smoking. Like they're like, all right, sweet, you guys, you can use your full lung capacity now. Like there's no filter and like when you're fucking sucking air. So
so I'm curious about this because you like I had like I had 3 or 4 years between my basic and OSET or whatever to my first deployment. So like when I left OSET, I remember all the drill sergeants are always like, "This is the easiest thing you will ever do in the military. Like, it will only get harder from here, and your unit is going to treat you like shit." And that was true. Like, I came into the unit at the end of their Afghanistan deployment on Rear D, and yeah, they were not nice people. But like, so like 3 years later, I go on my first deployment, and I'm like, oh man, like I barely even remember basic, bro. Like that shit like seems so far in the past and it was easy. And then they were like sure shit right. Like that deployment was like so much worse. It was so much more difficult. It was so much more physically demanding than basic ever was. So like someone who went through OSIT and then almost immediately started the mobilization process, do you think that that mobilization process and the deployment were more difficult than your holy Christ 22 weeks in OSIT?
OSIT was a lot of sitting around. They tried to stretch 16 weeks into 22. We wrote down daily how many hours we were sitting around with white space doing like fucking nothing. And we tallied the hours up at the end of our cycle, and it was 29 days worth of sitting around.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they were training you for the mobilization process.
Yeah, pretty much. Born to wait, baby. So, yeah, I got an airborne slot out of OSIT. I graduated OSIT July 9th, and then July 12th, the airborne cycle started up, so another 3 weeks. So I got home beginning of August, reported to my unit August 17 or something like that, and I started drilling. We had 4 drills, something like that. I got COVID, so I missed one. And then December, we found out we were getting command directed. So 4 drills, and then I got transferred over to 125 to deploy. We were unprepared. We had good drill instructors. I think shit just got complacent because there's a lot of sitting around. Like we were putting up
they made it. They're like, we're gonna make it longer so it's better training, but we didn't really plan how to fill all that time.
They didn't budget that shit, man. There's no money.
Yeah.
And
I will say no one's ready for that type of deployment. You went from being like a light infantry dude, and like everyone trains in the infantry to be light infantry unless you're actually in like a fucking Bradley unit or but then you go right into mounted patrolling on vehicles that you've never touched. Yeah, there's no way to prepare for that. And who knew it was going to be cold? I didn't know it was going to be cold. It's my third deployment.
Yeah, we're going to the desert. Yeah. When the fuck is it's the Middle East, dude. Yeah, it got fucking cold.
So going back a bit. So talking about, we're kind of ramping into our deployment together, but to pause and go back a bit. So Matt and I were in high school. 9/11 happens. Rest in peace. Toby Keith happens. So we're riding the wave of like Moto America at the time. We're like, yeah, let's invade Iraq, even though we don't really have a reason to. Sweet. They weren't letting us inspect their nuclear facilities or whatever, I think. So, okay. But anyways, we were all in Iraq, like, why are we there? But we were riding that moto train, GWOT, let's go. We got attacked by Osama. So, I got to ride that like my whole career, and it just kept going. What was it like, Matt, to have that happen? You're trying to join, and then by 07, you're like, okay, I give up. And then right before you hit the age limit, you're like, all right, I'm down. Like, how did you grab onto the motivation to do that? And what did you feel like? Like, when you joined, did you feel like I'm probably not going to deploy? Because, the likelihood was low. We were pretty lucky to go to OIR and go to Syria in these times. But, like, where were you at joining? Was it, like, were you just like, hey, I better do it before I can't or I'll regret it? Or were you like, I feel like I'm probably going to get some because I mean, when
I
I
didn't know what to
joined,
expect.
really? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect at all. Uh, I lost a lot of money in overtime income when COVID shut down all the construction sites,
Mm.
and I was looking for a way to like make some of that money back. So sign-on bonus, we get to pad our savings back up a little bit. Um, I started to think again, like, okay, well, maybe the possibility's there since it was a numbers thing, and I'm seeing recruitment's low. You know, maybe this time around it'll work. And
Hmm.
I talked to my wife about it for a long time. Like we talked about this for months, and I was like, if I go guard, like I wanted to do some type of service, and I told her, I was like, I want to see, I want to find out at least if I can get in, great, I get to finally serve. If not, it's just a confirmation that wasn't meant to happen. But I
Mm.
don't want to. I don't want to live with like a what if or a regret that I didn't check and see one more time.
Okay.
Uh, so so yeah, I didn't know what to expect. You know, I thought we were going to be doing like tornado and disaster relief, that sort of shit.
Yeah.
You
Burke.
know, I had a bunch of guys getting called on like 90-day orders for COVID assistance, that sort of shit. So that's what I thought my
Okay.
squad leader was calling me about when I got notified about the deployment. Like it was like
Huh.
10 o'clock on a Thursday, and he calls, and I'm like, line of communication. My squad leader doesn't call me, my team leader does, and so he's like, "How's things going? How are you?" I was like, "Well, your small talk's dog shit. Like, is it 90? Is this 90-day orders? Are you going doing COVID bullshit?" And he's like, "Nope, nope. It's longer than that. Uh, you're getting command directed. You're deploying." So luckily, a lot of the guys from my unit and company, um, we all went over to the same company instead of getting scattered around. We all went to
Mm.
Bravo, so that was fortunate because there were already like familiar faces there.
Yeah.
But there was a lot to learn. You know, I was always pretty humbled when I go into an environment where I don't know what's going on. I don't, you know, I know how to behave, but for the most part, I just keep my mouth shut and listen.
Yeah.
So I
Burke, what
was
was it like
pumped.
when you joined? What was it? What was the year you joined? 11 or 17?
12.
Well, okay, it's 12.
Yeah.
It's a big
So
difference.
I was old enough to remember 9/11. I was in grade school. I was like 6, something like that.
Hmm.
So like it was on the TV, like in the hallway, and I remember it and going home, and everyone was like sheltering in place because we were like, oh, where's it gonna happen next? But
Yeah.
um, obviously, I wasn't like old enough to like really understand what was going on. Like I knew we were being attacked. I didn't really understand the concept of like terrorism or why. Like, you know, my concept came from like watching Band of Brothers or Saving Private Ryan or something where I was like, oh, it's the bad guys, like Germany's attacking again or some shit, you know? So but I was like I understood that like we were being attacked and like I wanted to do something about it, but I was also 6, so I couldn't. So I had to I had to wait. So I literally held on to that for the next 12 years and waited. And I was always like, oh, this year, you know, the war is going to be over and I won't have to like deploy or anything. There won't be a job for me. Like the army's going to downsize. I won't be able to join.
Hmm.
And then I finally got to the age and I was like, oh, still going on. Like we are literally still in Afghanistan and Iraq. So yeah, I joined up and I was still, and we had just killed Bin Laden like a year before that or 2 years before that or something.
Hmm.
Um, I was like, oh, might as well do it. So I joined up, and obviously the war was like massively different. But yeah, like I said, it took me 2, 3 years, 4 years to deploy, and then up in Iraq fighting someone not even the same. Like we were fighting ISIS. And I was like, there's like 2 organizations fighting each other in Iraq, and I'm not sure what side we're on, but yeah, it was
Well,
wild.
it's
We
kind
were
of the
in
same
wild time.
like OAR. We're over there. Like our target is ISIS, and we're getting attacked by other assholes. You know.
Oh,
I think
you should have seen Afghanistan in 2019, dude. Like the Taliban was attacking us, ISIS was attacking the Taliban, and ISIS was attacking us. Like it was wild. And the Taliban was like stopped attacking us because they're like, man, ISIS is cutting our dudes' heads off. Like, I think that's worse. So like they went and fought ISIS in the mountains and didn't fuck with us for a while. But then ISIS like overran them and started attacking us again. It was wild.
The triangle of hate.
Yeah. But we just like let it go. We're like, oh, no one's touching us. Let's just sit back. Let's not do shit.
Yeah.
So we like, which ended up biting us in the ass like in 2019, it was end of 2019 because we stopped patrolling, we stopped doing missions, we stopped like hunting down these leaders. So like as ISIS and the Taliban kind of like came to this standstill, at least from the perspective of like the troops on the ground, like me, I was like, man, like it's really quiet. Like nothing's really going on. And then all of a sudden it like exploded in our face and like V-bids, rockets every day. And like we don't even know who's attacking us. We're like, this could be the Taliban, this could be ISIS. And like everyone's claiming responsibility for it.
Thanks. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. All these 3 phases we all joined in, end up going together. Yeah, interesting.
Well, I think back like just at how like I got familiarity with you two like respectively, because going into going into AT, our Weasel was moving over to admin. Our our acting Weasel wasn't deploying, and he was also like assisting admin. So I became like the de facto Weasel specialist Smith, who had never done weapons squad. Like a lot of the weapons squad stuff that we had done on drill leading up to that. Like we were supposed to do machine gun theory that one day, Burke, when we ended up just going and fucking around with Matt B's. And I didn't know what the fuck we were supposed to be doing. And so, yeah, I talked to Burke and I talked to Beaudry. Like, I don't know how to run this fucking squad. So I just like watched them operate and shit like that. And Burke was like a huge help just as far as like seeing how things are supposed to operate and go. And we only had 2 guys on our squad that really understood weapons before that had been on the weapons squad for, longer than us. And so, yeah, got the familiarity with Burke, had a lot of respect for him from the get-go, just how helpful he was. And I remember the first thing he ever said to me, because like we were fucking around with those Map Vs, and I saw your deployment patch. I was like, did you guys do anything with these? And you were like, no, dog, we had Humvees. Just walked over to the shade.
Dude, yeah, it's always frustrating on those mobilizations. And like they were 1000% going to deploy you, Matt, as a Weasel. That was the plan. They were like, fuck it, man. He's the highest one we got. He's already in there. Let's just leave him there. And like they were gonna deploy Matt as a fucking E4 Weasel. And I was like, I accepted that. And I was, anything that like he wanted to ask, I was like, yeah, dude, like sure, ask me questions. And
Yep.
Like thank God, like I mean, I don't know about thank God, but they like reorged everything and like we took away the weapon squads, which mounted patrols. We didn't really need them. I get it.
Yeah, I was sleeping. I was finally sleeping at night because
Yeah.
like, I was getting a hold of like platoon leadership. Like I'm freaking out over here. I don't know the first thing about like I know leading. Like I know what it looks like from what I've seen. So I know how to relay information. But as far as
like tactically,
Yeah. Running because
yeah.
you're by yourself. Like you're
Yeah.
running those 2 gun teams, and you have like the assault helmets doing its own thing. Like the rest of the platoon is fucking off in a field or whatever. Like you have to find your support by fire position, set up your support by fire, know what your target reference points are going to be for the guns. You have to set those up with the guns, make sure they understand what the fuck they know what they're looking at. You have to set up like the
shift fire, lift fire positions.
Yeah, shift fire, lift fire, and how you're going to call it so that the hose in the field like know what you're doing. And
yep.
Like it's a lot, especially like you just got in the military, and like they were just like, this dude's here, fuck it, he'll be the Weasel. And I thought that was just hilarious because they were just like, we're deploying to a not combat zone, and this dude will just figure it the fuck out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I think
Yeah.
that was interesting. How did I don't think I really got to know either of you much till we got to Syria, huh?
I think I walked up to you at a green light night when you had Eagles of Death Metal shirt on.
Oh yeah, so you and I connected on music,
Mm-hmm.
and then Burke and I talked occasionally and stuff just because we were both E6s. Uh, but then when I started working with Burke a lot because he was a SOG all the time, and I was mayor, so we always had to figure stuff out once we got over there. And then Matt and I would still hang out. We were in the same living area, so we'd hang out, talk about music, have a cigar, whatever.
Yeah, those were nice. Yeah, those were like nice chill times, and then spending time in the fucking bunker, just keeping ourselves
Yeah,
entertained. I think
yeah,
that was a big thing because there were only 5 of you mortar guys, and then our squad right across on the other side of the CCP. So we were all in there just bullshitting, and I don't know, it was fucking crazy. Like I was talking to somebody at work the other day, and they're like, I was talking about just like having fun on deployment, and they're like, "There's no way that was fun." I was like, "Well, when your options are limited, you start to redefine things. Like,
mm-hmm,
fun for us over there is not fun over here.
yeah,
You just have to you have to find a way to like
Fun
keep
is
your spirits
relative.
up. Yeah, yeah. If you can't keep yourself entertained, and find ways to like what was that shit? Hunt the good stuff. Like
yeah,
Oh
if you
God.
can't find ways to do that, like your well being, your mental well being is going to fucking you're going to just drop, and then
yeah.
you're just a
We
liability.
I actually asked the guys when I saw them because like I got a lot of the dudes that we deployed with obviously in my company still. So they're all fucking off in a room trying to like hide from whatever that was going on. So I walked in there and I was like, they're all talking about the deployment. Of course, like all the new guys were in there from Rear D and shit. So they were like talking about the deployment, about all the shit that happened. And walked in and I was like, do you guys miss Syria? And they're like, yeah. Yeah. I was like, why? I'm like, well, it was a good time. It was with the boys. I was like, did you already forget about how miserable you were? Because I was SOG for all of you. And I heard
Mm-hmm.
you all talk shit the entire time about how miserable you are. You want to go home and you were looking for ways to get out of there early, volunteering for schools to get out of the shit. And I was like, I heard all of you bitching the entire time. You can't fool me. And they're like, well, now that we're back here, there's there's responsibility again. And it's not like a responsibility where you're like, oh, I have to survive today. I have to make sure all the dudes are okay. I have to make sure that I'm where I'm supposed to be, wearing what I'm supposed to be. It's like, oh, I have to pay bills again. I have to like look out for my kids again or my dog. I have to take care of my wife. I have to listen to other people's opinions. But I think that's something that like doesn't get communicated effectively with like the civilian populace or like people who maybe want to join or think about joining is like, yeah, deployments suck, but like,
life is simple.
it's
It's
simple
simple, yeah,
for
yeah.
the most part. For the
I
most,
I would I would say
depending on your rank, and
yeah. Like
yeah,
I
an
missed it.
E4 or like an E3, dude, just
Yeah,
sit in the tower, dog. Sit in the
yeah,
truck, drive the truck, bro. Sit in the turret.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I volunteered for my third deployment, but after that, I was like, I think I'll go home now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then, like what? I came back in 2014, so 8.5 years later, I'm on my next one, that we just did, and yeah, I don't miss it 1 second. I'm done. But before that, when you're younger, and yeah, for sure, life's simpler. But oh, there's a
oh come on, a little bit. Every once in a
I
while, you're like,
the only thing
eh.
I miss. The only thing I miss is getting paid to like shoot mortars or train and shoot guns
Yeah,
Uh,
that absurd per diem
and
that
like,
we had was fucking ridiculous too.
yeah,
That was nice.
yeah, the per diem was nice on this deployment, but that's it, man. I I'm old. I got my third kid on the way. I'm like,
Well,
nah.
they leaned on you guys a ton. I mean,
Well, yeah, I was worn
mortars.
out.
Yeah,
I
you
was
guys were.
worn out,
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then when you're like higher up too, you even people you really like, you clash.
Yeah.
You're gonna clash, just the way it
A
is. And then
year
you're
with so
like,
much stress, it's inevitable.
hmm,
yeah. And then you're just
yeah.
like, I'm mentally
Yeah.
exhausted.
I like these 6 and above, I will say probably it didn't even take that long. Like 6 months into that whole process, they were dead. Everyone was just like stressed to the max. People were like getting in arguments in the talk. Like I know I would go in there if someone like talked shit to me on the radio, I would go in there and be like, "Who did it? Which one of you?"
Well, you're just constantly trying to make something out of nothing when you don't have what you have or you weren't properly trained, so you're just trying to figure it out on your own. And
Yeah.
you like, especially if you care, man. Like if you really want to do the best job possible, but you're not getting the resources you're asking for, or you weren't properly prepared, trained, and prepped for where you're at. It's
Well,
really annoying.
CJTF straight up told us to just make do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like we were.
That was like every day on the deployment. I think I heard something along the lines of take it on the chin, make do, uh, we'll figure it out as we go. That was a big one. I heard that probably every day.
I think it was more frustrating. Like we're all infantrymen, and it's like if you're okay, I'm gonna go in an austere environment and be in the suck, and then okay, I'll dig holes, I'll poop in them, I'll sleep in a different hole, I'll eat MREs, whatever, right? But when you're put somewhere that's kind of in between, that could easily be run more efficiently, and you're like, hey, we could do this way, and then we don't. That's what makes you
I think
really
also the
angry.
stressors of just being in an occupation phase.
Yeah.
You know, there's no retaliation on our side. You know, we get attacked too far away to close with and destroy.
The mission was
Rules of
hard.
Yeah,
engagement
It was a
keep us
hard
from
mission. Yeah.
doing really anything that we're trained to do, and then we watch the retaliation come from Air Force. Then Air Force goes back to their cushy beds and their fantastic DFAC, and then we're the pin cushions that catch the retaliation from them. And so I
dude, that's a
think
really good point.
mentally it was a huge like a huge factor in the stress level, just because you're just sitting and waiting, born to wait, baby.
Yeah,
You know.
look at the differences. I mean, so I wasn't in the invasion of Iraq or like when we first dropped in Afghanistan or something, but '05, I went to Fallujah after it was all blown to hell in November of '04. And we were like, the unit before us had just started letting everyone back in the city because they were like, if you stay in the city, you're an enemy. Let's go, you know? So we're letting everyone back in and they're just sitting there picking up bricks, rebuilding their homes. And this like, I mean, I would guess the tallest building was maybe 10 stories. I'm trying to go off memory, but I mean, there's several tall buildings, at least 5, 6 stories. So it's kind of a semi-metropolitan, whatever. Uh, but I mean, you're driving around and like you're less safe driving around than probably walking because of IEDs. But I mean, you know, you're just driving around and your threat, like, okay, I'm going to go on mission, something bad, it's probably going to happen. And you just expect it. And then randomly they'd shoot rockets at the base or something, or mortars, and then, you know, whatever. It was the same exact thing when I went in 10, 11, and 13, 14. And then to go on this one, 22, 23, where the least safe place was on your base.
Mm-hmm.
And you just sit there. It was super weird. Like I don't know
Yeah.
what Burks you guys got direct attack once either while you were contracting or your other one?
Once in once in Afghanistan, and we had a couple like tiny incidents in Iraq, but we let the Marines deal with it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So it's
in Afghanistan we had a large ground attack, and I honestly don't remember, like, it was ISIS at the time, but like if you look at the articles that came out in the last couple years and right
mhm.
after, like I remember them saying ISIS, but now they all say Taliban. So I think it was ISIS. I think it was ISIS Kabul, ISK, but
Mhm.
whatever. But yeah, we had a VBID blow a hole in the wall, and like 36 dudes tried to like bum rush the hole, and there's like
Mhm.
this full day long gunfight over it. But that was like at the time, this is outside Bagram. We were getting rocketed like 3 times a day, 2 3 times a
Jeez.
day. So, but it's Bagram, bro. Like it's one huge. Two, there's like 8 fucking anti-air C-rams on there. So like you
Yeah.
get one
I was there.
rocket and you'll have like 6 or 7 fucking C-rams shooting at it, and then it didn't really work. It's a they just don't work how they're supposed to. But
Yeah,
I
when I
was
was
not afraid of the IDF in Afghanistan. Like I
right.
rarely broke my stride going to the chow hall when that IDF alarm went off. You know,
Yeah.
I it was just a part of the life. But yeah, and the ground attack thing. At first, there was an IDF alarm, and we had a ton of IDF coming in, and it was a mix. There's a lot of 107s, which was like the most common, the Katushkas or whatever, and the 107s, and then the RPGs. And then they had like a bunch of mortars start coming in. I was like, all right, something's going on. Like they haven't gotten close enough to shoot mortars in fucking years. And
Yeah.
then you hear the machine guns start going and turn into another thing. But then the ground attack alarm went off. I was like, okay, something's actually going on. But yeah, like Syria, I actually ran to the bunkers. Like that was not,
Yep.
yeah, that was not the same. And
I think
I actually didn't know that like these cells had anything other than 107s, because that's just what everybody always shot.
right.
And a 107,
Yeah,
like
like
Matt, I don't know, like if you know this, but like a 107, like I've seen those like hit buildings and shit, and not even hurt the building at all. Like I've seen people like meters from them. Like you got to be like on top of that thing. It's got to like almost directly hit you for the most part. Like unless you're really unlucky, but like it hit one of our buildings that was just like a regular brick building, and it just bounced off the side and hit the ground. And I was like, oh, wow, like I don't even
That's what
feel
they
like running
shot
anymore.
that hit
Yeah.
outside of that tower that Lewis and I were on. That
Yeah.
was the
And it's like the
107.
boom is bigger than the actual blast. Like,
It was the boom that, yeah.
yeah. It's
yeah.
really surprising. But then like some of those other munitions, I was like, okay.
What's it? The first time on this deployment, I was like, yeah, whatever. Done that a million times. Like, I remember my second deployment in Afghanistan, and the first time, we got incoming, and I'm in a room with these guys on their first deployment, and I'm watching them, see what they do, and I think we were playing cards, and they were just like, okay, and I was like, all right, they'll be all right. But then like, yeah, so like 107s is what like if it lands on you, bad luck, but I'm not gonna go run for that. But after that one night,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Bunker Bros was born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also,
Yeah,
like,
that
we
cluster
used to
that
live in
cluster
them,
attack was
Like, you used to. I don't remember if it was us that talked about this, but like when I was in Iraq, we lived in the bunkers, and like Afghanistan, we lived in like a hard structure that was like it was concrete, so
Hmm.
like you didn't have to go anywhere. You could just sleep through
Yeah.
it if you weren't actually actively working, and there was no like ground attack. You just wake up, the alarm's going off, good to go back to sleep.
Yeah. So Matt, so now we're coming home, right?
yeah.
Matt finally gets to scratch the itch. He's lucky. Most people joining the military now aren't going to be doing this kind of stuff.
No. I
Uh,
was very fortunate.
now he's. Did you get pinned yet?
Yeah, I got corporal last weekend, and I'll get sergeant after BLC this summer. So yeah, our squad
Hey,
is very small right now. But like I said, they just did like an alert roster for the most part, just so they could have some kind of accountability for MRE over the weekend. So we're getting reorg. Things are going to get moved around. But
I
yeah,
saw the RSP list or RSB, whatever it is, and I like at the bottom it has like all the dudes who are like coming in the future to your element or whatever. And
mm-hmm,
these dudes, like I thought it'd be like the end of the summer or like next spring or something. But dude, it's like December of like 25. It's like
yep,
is their graduation date. So like, dude, you're
yeah,
not even gonna be the unit for like another year and a half. Like, why are you even on this piece of
mm-hmm,
paper?
right,
If you graduate.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they get their that's kind of like how it rolled. Like when you're setting shit up at MEPS before you sign that packet, like you're already you're already designated to a unit.
Yeah.
that's so that's so weird. I mean, you have to be for the guard, but it's weird. Why do they even put that information out? I think it's pointless.
Yeah, cool. I see it and I'm just like, oh, so we maybe have a dude if he graduates on time and
In a
goes.
year and a half,
Yeah, in a
and
year
I'm
and a
in a new
half.
unit.
Yeah.
So why do I care?
Yeah.
But all right, guys, thanks for joining us for the first episode of From the Bunker. We'll be back next time. Make sure you hit our shop, bunker-bros.com. Follow us on Instagram at The Real Bunker Bros, Facebook, Bunker Bros, and of course, Burke, hit them with the Twitch and YouTube.
Twitch and YouTube, we are at the Real Bunker Bros as well.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time.
Thanks a lot.